Hi guys, what's up? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're here for UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2 from the Etihad Arena in beautiful Abu Dhabi. Literally, I've just come off the stream from doing my Keza versus Magni picks UFC Fight Island 8, so please go check that out. Throw a thumbs up on there if you can. Like I say, I've had some guys reach out regarding what I'm going to be doing kind of moving into February once I have a little bit more time. I'm going to be doing a Thursday show where I'm going to have different cappers on talking about things, and then I'm going to have one hopefully on a Saturday right before the fights, live kind of locked before talking some fights and just general chit chat with you guys there. If you were on the previous stream, I had one literally lasted 2 minutes. My computer was being a bit arsey, so decided to start over again. So yeah, please come and subscribe to the channel if you can. We're still trying to go over 4,000 subs. We're also trying to, I'm going to be having a Patreon where guys can come and support the channel and hopefully help me kind of move this channel onto bigger and better things, and so I can have more content for you guys. I know people are out there are wanting it. You can follow me on Twitter at Will Martin MMA. You can find my Bet MMA tips page there where I have all my bets and so on. Coming off a good night to start off the year, plus 3.24 units to kick off the night. And what a better pay-per-view to start off the year than Dustin Poirier against Conor McGregor in the rematch, which took place many, many moons ago now, it seems like, where Conor McGregor really kind of blossomed into that massive star. Overall, I really like this betting card. I really like this fight card, I should say, and I've got a couple of bets on here ready to go, including a big max bet for me, which I don't do all too often, but I really like this spot for the fighter that I have here, and I like the line that I got as well. So let's get into this fight card there. And also, I forgot to say this, I'm going to be doing MMA Kilton's show. He's had a channel for many years, took a hiatus, went to UFC BroPicks. Now he's got his own channel. Go subscribe to Kilton's channel. I'm going to be on there Thursday night talking some fights. So please go and support that kid over there who's making a big jump in the betting game, getting himself into that green hopefully very, very soon. So let's get into there. I see K Jordan XX. Hope you're well. Thank you for coming in and spending your time with me here. Amir Albazi against Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Both guys who come in and gave decent performances kind of in the UFC debut. I think Albazi had a really, when you look at who Malcolm Gordon kind of is in the UFC now, it's he's not turned himself out to be the greatest addition to the UFC kind of flyweight division, and Albazi really went in there, treated him accordingly, got out of there with a beautiful triangle choke. And this is something that I hear about Albazi, is his technique on the ground in certain spots there. So sorry, the dog is wanting out, and the hairdryer's going for my daughter there. So so I was quite impressed with his debut over me, Albazi. I think that he was where his big shining light kind of in his fight game is his ground game, and I know people that have kind of grappled with him and so on, and says he's a really talented, very good grappler. I'm still not 100% kind of sure on who I am. I've seen him like against Shorty Torres there, where he got pushed up against the cage, got pushed back, kind of got dominated there. Rebounding against Ryan Curtis, the guy I know coming out of Ireland pretty well. Zhalgas is just a really tough guy to face, and usually gets into close fights as well. You've seen that back in the if I bring up his record here, like the Ulanbekov fight, the Bagatinov fight, they're guys that have been around the UFC, Tyson Nam's in the UFC, Shaj Hack's a guy that I've known about for many, many years. Fights close and is a really hard guy to really look good against. And then he came into the UFC against Howland Paiva, and I do think he was a little bit unlucky maybe to not get the decision on that one there, because he fought very, very tough. It looked like to me like he kind of edged the fight out, but they gave it the other way, and thankfully, because I had Paiva in a parlay that night. So way I see this kind of fight going, I think I'm going to go with Zhalgas in this one. I think initially the fight will be close. I just don't see Albazi getting the fight to the ground and really keeping the fight there for long spots. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of Albazi on the feet. Zhalgas is going to push forward, and this is where I think that he can win close rounds. I think this is a very close fight, guys. I really do. I don't see a hell of a lot between these guys, but I just see Zhalgas maybe getting a 29-28 decision and kind of getting the spot in that one there. So I'm going to go Zhalgas for the win there. Okay, who have we got? Movsar Evloev against Nick Lentz is up next. I actually kind of like Nick Lentz in that fight against Mike Grundy. I thought that could have the potential to be very, very close, a close fight. Now that Movsar's came in, I don't like this fight for him at all. I think just the overall game of Evloev is better than what Nick Lentz is, and I don't like what Nick Lentz has really been kind of doing with his interviews and his eye problems and so on. But like I said, I thought the fight with Grundy would have ended up being a little bit closer, but I think Evloev is just the better fighter than, like, he beat Grundy handily after nearly getting choked out and saying that. But I like Evloev's overall game. He's a guy that I've always really, really enjoyed watching fight. I think that he doesn't outdo himself. He fights their game plan very well. His grappling's elite. I think that Lentz is a little bit long in the tooth now in the UFC, and I think that Evloev is just a little bit too fast, a little bit too speedy, a little bit too good in many, many areas, and I think that he can keep that over a 15-minute fight there. What obviously, and I think I've mentioned this before, what I like to see, or what I want to see from Evloev is finishes, because coming into the UFC and winning decisions is not really going to push you up the roster all too quickly. I mean, he's got good wins, Sungwoo Choi, Barzola, especially his last two, I think, are really good wins. But before that, he was beating guys back out in the regional scene, but he is a guy that fights their game plan very thoroughly. And I think that he just does that here. I'm not holding a high spot for Nick Lentz here. Maybe the only way I can see it is the way that fight really planned out with Mike Grundy was... Mike Grundy got him in a choke and nearly got him out of there. Now, if you give Lentz the opportunity to do that, you could be in a hell of a lot of trouble in that spot there. So I like Movsar Evloev. I like him in that spot. Betting line's obviously very high, I think minus 440. So yeah, you can put him in parlays if you're doing them, but I'm going to be staying away from that fight. If anything, and I've not looked at any props, I'll have a look at that another time, but I'd probably take Evloev maybe via decision in that one there, and you'll get a better number in that spot. Lentz is tough, and he could stick around for the 15 minutes in that fight. So I'll pick Evloev there. Andrew Sanchez against Mahmoud Muradov. Good fight, a really good fight. Muradov's jumping back in here. I think I can't remember who pulled out, actually. Let me try and find this. Andre Muniz, yeah. So that was going to be a good fight, I think, between Sanchez and Muniz. Sanchez is coming off a great performance and a great knockout and getting himself a bonus when he knocked out Wellington Turman in the first round. That was a beautiful knockout. That's kind of the performance we've been wanting to be seen from Andrew Sanchez, because he's been predominantly a grappler, clinching you up, looking to get takedowns, and not really showing off much with his hands. But I mean, he put it on Wellington Turman in that first round and secured an absolute vicious knockout there. Muradov's a guy that I really like since he came into the UFC. I even liked him outside the UFC. He was a guy that people brought to my attention and were telling me, look, you need to keep an eye on this guy. And then there's obviously the whole money team crap that there is. But guy's got 30 fights, a lot of fights. He's very long. He's got a lot of output. He does absorb a few strikes, but not as much as what Sanchez does. Sanchez, in my opinion, will need to definitely go back to try and securing takedowns here. I just don't know whether he's going to muscle someone like Muradov to the floor and keep him there for large spots in the fight. So I'm kind of on the side of Muradov, and I actually quite like his betting line, if I'm being honest with you. The betting line on Muradov is minus 140. I think he's a little bit lower here in the UK. So if you like Sanchez, I mean, Sanchez is going to fight for your money, and if Muradov doesn't really hurt him all too early, he could stick around this fight, potentially get takedowns. You could have a kind of live dog play there. For me, I'm kind of more on the Muradov side. I think that I think he's in a good spot here. I really do. I think that he's got a decent opportunity to come in here and win this fight. This would be a big win over Sanchez, obviously Ultimate Fighter winner and so on. Take some of his credence over there. Like I said, I've liked what I've seen. He's very, very fluent with his striking. He's got power also. Beautiful knockouts in the UFC. I'm kind of on the Muradov side in this spot here in that one. So Mahmoud Muradov, I'll take him via decision in that one there. What have we got here? Going back into the chat. Michael Ross. Hope you're well, man. I think you were in my last one. He is small for 145. He is small for 145. That is Evloev is. Yeah, I really wish he'd go to 135, but he's not killing himself. So, but yeah, he's a great fighter and he's going to move himself up there. So, let's move into the prelims now. We've got Khalil Rountree Jr., who's coming off his retirement against Marcin Prachnio. Marcin Prachnio. If you're coming out of retirement and you want a fight and then you're a hitter like Khalil Rountree is, you are loving this fight, honestly. If you cannot win this fight here, there's something up with you, honestly, if Khalil Rountree can come out here and knock this guy out. I kind of like the under 1.5 in this. I think I've seen it at -1. I think it was -110 in the UK, -120 in that, earlier on. I think it was. I looked at that. It was just that one specifically that I was looking at. Prachnio has shown that he's not got the best kind of overall game. Comes forward, chin in the air, not got the greatest fight IQ. And I mean, he's been in the UFC and he's been stopped in the first round in all 3 fights. So I can kind of see where I'm going to go with Khalil Rountree in this spot, considering he has big power. I think there's some spots in the past where he's kind of shit the bed. I remember I bet him I bet against him. I was expecting him not to. I thought he was going to give a little bit too much respect to Gokhan Saki, and then he came in there and got absolutely. He blasted Saki out of there, but he's been trading kind of wins and losses. Lost to Kutalaba, got blasted through in the first round there. This, to me, is a really good spot for Khalil Rountree. If he's meant to come in there as a killer, he's going to get opportunities to put it on this guy's chin. So for me, I have got Khalil Rountree. I'm going to go a first round knockout for Khalil there, and I'll be having a kind of close look at Rountree on DraftKings. Obviously, with this new whole scoring system, like he could get a knockout in the first 60 seconds of this fight, which would be massive, especially if he can get that. So for me, I'm going to pick Khalil Rountree Jr. in that one to beat Marcin Prachnio. Moving on, women's bantamweight division, Julianna Pena against Sara McMann. Interesting fight. I'm seeing a lot of people actually really liking Sara McMann in this spot. I can see why. There's spots with Sara McMann where I've predicted some of her fights spot on. I mean, she's not the hardest girl to kind of predict, really, for the simple reason that she sometimes comes in there, she looks great in the first round and then gets exposed in the second round. I think I bet Marion Renault against her. I bet Caitlin Vieira against her. And then there was another fight. I think it was the Alexis Davis fight. I bet her on that one there, where I liked her in that spot. We know what you're going to get from Sara McMann. She's built very hefty for that division, very strong, but she can't keep it up. And once adversity shows, she folds, and it's pretty plain and simple. You've seen that in her fights, like what I've seen obviously last time out against Lena Landsberg. But Lena's very slow. She's very predictable. I'll say that, and it's someone that you can really get down to the mat and you can kind of control, and that's what she did. She got 3 takedowns in that fight. She really held her up, gave Lena no spots in that fight whatsoever. But like I say, she makes a fast start. She will get takedowns. She does that pretty much in every fight. She is a really good wrestler. But I mean, she's getting on now. She's 40 years of age in this division. I mean, Pena, like I say, I think she has kind of fallen off the cliff a little bit as well. But she's another one that can come through some bad spots, get takedowns. She did that against de Randamie, even though she lost the fight. And I mean, her getting submitted by Jermaine de Randamie is a red flag, to say the least, considering what de Randamie really is, which is a kickboxer. She can get takedowns and she can squeak out rounds. I see this being another fight here, being very close, 29-28 either goal. I don't think that Pena will get her out of there, but I think that she can last longer. I think she can get into that second round. I think she can have wrestling positions here where she can be a little bit dominant in the ground. Like I say, I quite, not that I super like Pena in this spot, because I think she has kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit, from what she was a couple of years ago. I mean, she was hyped up going to be this after the Zingano fight away back in 2016. Then got submitted. Everybody seemed to be on Pena against Shevchenko. I was on the Shevchenko side there and got her as a good bet there. But I'm going to take Julianna Pena to win via decision there. I think that she outlasts Sara McMann in a little bit of a slot fest where she kind of wins rounds 2 and 3 for me there. So that's going to be my prediction for that one there, is Julianna Pena. Okie dokie, let's see. Where are we at? I've kind of lost myself there. Brad Tavares against Antonio Carlos Jr. This is another really close, interesting fight to me. Both guys that, when was the last time these boys actually fought? It's been a bit of time. Edmund Shabazian, so it was 2019, so he's had a good year off. I actually think that for Tavares, that's a good thing because he was injured pretty badly in the Adesanya fight. I remember hearing that from a very close coach of his, saying that he had a really bad leg injury and went into that fight there. And after the fact, I should have said I heard that because I picked Tavares in that spot. And imagine picking against Israel Adesanya as well. I thought that was one of his breakout performances there. And then he got head kicked very badly against Edmund Shabazian. But this is the guy that, I mean, he's been around the UFC for a long time. I think that on the feet, I do think he's got advantages there, but we all know what Carlos Jr. is going to do in this spot. He's going to want to try and take this fight to the ground where his skills lie, and that's where I think that he can get it, but I'm a little bit wary of him also because, I mean, both guys are kind of, I don't want to say they're getting on. I mean, Carlos Jr. is probably kind of in his prime, where Tavares, to me, I think that he might start to kind of decline a little bit. But it's kind of, I'm finding this a hard fight to really predict too much, honestly. I was on the Uriah Hall side for his last fight there when he lost, Carlos Jr. lost. That was a good dog bet I got on there. But like I say, Brad Tavares, if he gets taken down, I don't know whether he can kind of explode back up here. And I'm a little bit, and he's not a guy that's been predominantly taken down through his career. If you kind of watch his fights, he's had a lot more fights where he's not been taken down. I mean, I think the Theodora one, he got some reaction takedowns there, but he popped back up to his feet very quickly. I remember Cow Magalhaes back in the day got one as well in that spot. Like on the feet, I do favour kind of Brad Tavares, but I think that Carlos Jr. is long. He throws some high kicks. He can throw some nice straight shots. But ultimately, I see this fight taking place on the ground, and I think that Carlos Jr. might be able to use his jiu-jitsu and use his positioning down there to kind of win the fight. So does he get a stoppage, though? I'm not entirely sure where I'm not entirely sure whether he submits him or not. So I'm going to go Antonio Carlos Jr. I'm going to go by sub. If that's how he wins this fight, I think that's how, for the most part, he wins that fight there. So I'm going to go Antonio Carlos Jr. I don't know the odds on that one. Is he actually the underdog? I think he is. So yeah. Just going to go back into the chat and say hello to some of you guys. I can see some of you there. Stay away from betting chick fights. They always go to decision and hard to tell, from Michael Ross. Yeah. Much credit on the Buckley fight. A great fight call. I know. I really wish I bet that fight, Michael. Like I said in my last video, it was either Carlos Condit inside the distance or Alessio Di Chirico, and I went with Carlos Condit. So that kind of sucks. So I kind of need to learn from that. Sean Mannion, what's happening, man? McGregor going to slap this head off this yank again. We'll see about that. Hard to pick fighter both in 2-fight losing streak. Yep. Tom, what's up, Will? I keep trying to make these live streams, but I keep on missing it. Will, I've got a couple of out today and working away in these ones here. So he won't even take Tavares down, mate. Like I say, I'm not going to have any part of that fight betting wise. I've already got enough money kind of moving around here. So yeah, like I say, if he can't get him down, and I think he's at a disadvantage. I just think he will get him down, and he will kind of win the fight through his submission skills. So yeah, that Jose Aldo reaction was legendary. Yeah, that felt like a lifetime ago now, mate. So yeah, moving on here. this fight I've got a vested interest in because I have the most money I've ever had on a fighter on this fight here. I've got a max bet for me, which is, now that I've put the money up, is a lot of money, well over £500 I've got on Arman Tsarukyan here. So, like I say, it's Nasrat Haqparast against Arman Tsarukyan in the big fight of the prelims here before moving into the main card. Really, you guys, if you've been around long enough, you've heard me talk and wax lyrical about Arman Tsarukyan. I'm a big believer in this kid. I think that he has got all the skills. I actually think he could be a champion one day. I'll come out there and say I think he's got, especially at the age he is, with the skills that he has, the skills that he seems to be showing fight to fight. I really like this kid. I think I've bet him in pretty much every UFC fight. I bet him against Islam Makhachev. I think he was a big dog there, like plus 400 or something. I took a shot on him. I thought he gave Islam Makhachev a really honest fight there, and really looked to like he just couldn't. At that point, Islam is just farther ahead. It's pretty evident to see that he was farther ahead, but he gave Islam some problems there in that spot, which I loved. And then I bet him against Olivier Aubin-Mercier. I think I bet him to win via decision at plus 125. And he went in there. I think it was a harder fight for him because OAM is a tough guy to face, big leg kicks, big body kicks, got some power there, is a fairly decent grappler himself. But what I liked about that fight is like he took the spot there where like, I don't care if I have to keep a hold of you for 10 minutes of this 15-minute fight. As long as I get the judges' scorecard, then I will take it. And I like fighters like that kind of show different things and have different ways to win fights. And in that fight against OAM, he decided, right, I'm going to catch kicks. I'm going to try and get on the back and hold him there. And like the kid's got a lot of strength, little nuances with his game where he'll move to like picking the ankle to going after the wrist, all those type of things. And then in his next fight against a very, very dangerous guy in Davy Ramos, we started to see most of his striking. And he's an interesting fighter in the fact that I do think he's got good wrestling. I do think he's got a lot of attributes with the grappling and so on. I think he's very strong in that spot. But he likes to stand up. He likes to show his stand-up off. And he did that, I think, in his last fight. Now, I do think he is a little bit hittable still, and that's a little bit of a worry considering Nasrat has got very, very quick hands, throws at good angles, picks his shots fairly well. Don't like the fact that he does get a little bit aggressive. He got caught against Drew Dober last time out. Not taking anything away from Drew there. That was a great shot, straight down the pipe, hit him right on the chin and put him out. But I just really like this spot for Arman Tsarukyan, like I say, and it might be a little bit of bias on my side because I am a fan of Tsarukyan, but I see the skills with this guy. I really do. I think that he's got so much ability, in my opinion, that I think at the age he's at, I said this in the previous stream I was doing for Magni Chiesa, but I like the fact that he doesn't really stay to one gym. He's went from Tiger Muay Thai to American Top Team, back to Russia with Peter Yan and his team. Then I think for this camp, he's been out in LA a little bit there, where he's been at Black House, and he's been, I forgot the name of the guy, he's an Olympic gold medal wrestler from 2016. He's been training his wrestling with him in California. So to me, I think if he's smart in this one, I think he tries to use his grappling game here, and I think that he's got a definitive advantage with that there. I think Nasrat will be able to jump back up because I do think he's got good reactions to getting taken down. On the feet, I think that Tsarukyan can hold his own with Nasrat on there. He just needs to avoid getting hit in the chin. But the fights that I've seen him in, he can take a shot fairly well too. Davy caught him with a couple of flush shots to the face there. And like he showed a very, very game there with some spinning attacks, some good high kicks, some good counter shots as well when Davy was getting a little bit too aggressive. And then he got in some beautifully well-timed takedowns as well. Like I say, I'm on Arman Tsarukyan. I've got a massive bet on him there, in my opinion. I made that. I wasn't going to watch fights over Christmas, and then I seen that Tsarukyan was fighting. I was like, I have to watch this guy. The line was -175, and I jumped on that and put as much on as I kind of possibly could. That was my max from what I was at. So, yeah, I've put my money down on Tsarukyan, but like I said, I'm not the greatest with max bets either, so kind of take that into consideration. The last one I had, I cashed it, but the last one before that I had was Abdul Razak Al Hassan against Munir Lazzez, and that didn't really turn out too well. So I'm hoping I can kind of keep the streak going here. I've got Arman Tsarukyan to win this fight here. I think that he wins via his wrestling. I think he's going to grapple here and absolutely come in here and win this fight. So let's go, Arman Tsarukyan. All the best to you, and let's win some money for me. So Tsarukyan in that spot there. Moving on to the pay-per-view portion of this card now. We've got Marina Rodriguez against Amanda Ribas. And I think everybody's darling seems to be Amanda Ribas in this spot. And I like in the UFC, I think she's shown in her UFC tenure so far that she's got a lot of skills, especially on the ground. I think she's very dangerous down there, and I think that's where she wants to really kind of take this fight here. In my opinion, she doesn't really want to be sticking on the feet too long with someone like Marina Rodriguez, because Marina Rodriguez is a really interesting case to me because it's obvious on the feet she has an advantage over pretty much anybody. Her takedown defense lacks greatly, but if she starts to really turn that around, I think she could be a very dangerous fight, and eventually she's going to put it all together, and she's going to put it on someone. And we have seen in the past, Ribas has been knocked out dead, like cold, with one shot. And this could happen if she decides to stay on the feet a little bit too long. But if I'm Amanda Ribas here, I think I get this fight to the ground ASAP, because you see when she does that, she's very, very good on the ground. We've seen that against Paige Van Zandt. Like she mopped up that armbar very quickly. Emily Whitmire, we've seen that. I mean, I can't believe I got her as an underdog in that fight, Amanda Ribas. I think she was plus 163 in that spot, and I got her there. Her takedowns aren't the greatest, but once she gets it there, she is very dominant on top. But there has been some spots where, like I say, Brandon Marco, she got her to the ground and then she managed to kind of survive and stick around in that one. Marina Rodriguez, the girl I actually kind of like betting on as well, because I've got high expectations for the girl. I think that she's got a lot of really good attributes with her striking, can go hard for 15 minutes, can throw a lot of varying strikes, but her takedown defense to me lacks, and that's big, I think, in this fight. If she can't get off on her striking and hurt Ribas early, I think Ribas is eventually going to get this fight to the ground. I think once she gets it there, I think she could submit Marina Rodriguez. I was thinking of potentially betting Amanda Ribas, but I decided to bet against it. I was going to parlay her up with, I can't remember who it was now, but I went the other way, and I'm just going to pick her here. So I'm going to go a second round submission for Amanda Ribas in that one there. Matt Frevola against Ottman Azaitar is up next. I'll be honest, guys, I think this is a really good fight for Ottman Azaitar, because as much as I like watching Matt Frevola fight, sometimes he gets a little bit too aggressive. And I think against a guy like Azaitar, who has, let's be honest, the guy's got dynamite in his hands, you could be in a lot of trouble against a guy like this here. But I do think there is a path to victory for Matt Frevola through his grappling. I think that if he can tire out Azaitar, then I think he can win this fight late on, potentially, or maybe with his submission grappling or with his wrestling. So, sorry, couldn't get that out there. But I've been on the Azaitar side since he came into the UFC. I think that he's got, like I say, I do think there's massive holes in his game, and hopefully he starts to eventually shore those ones up. But we've seen, and if you watch even his fights outside the UFC, this guy's got massive, massive power, and we've seen Matt Frevola in the past as well, being caught, being hurt. The guy's very, very game though, so he sticks around in fights. Got a lot of durability, but we've seen Polo Reyes put his lights out. He's came in there. He's got a couple of, I think he's got decent wins over Luis Pena, Jalen Turner, guys who are progressing up the ranks there in the UFC. So to me, I think his best chance to win here is grapple early. look to tire out Azaitar and look to kind of maybe take some pop off his shots if he can. But I just see Ottman Azaitar catching him early in this fight. I've got him via first round knockout for Ottman Azaitar. But like I say, if it goes past a round and a half, then Matt Frevola can maybe look very, very good in that spot there. I don't know what the bet line is. Let me just bring that up because I am a little bit tempted by Azaitar. So he's plus 135 for Frevola, minus 155. If I can get maybe minus 155 and it's still there later in the week, or maybe some money comes in Frevola, I could potentially have a bet on Ottman Azaitar, or I might have him by knockout, whatever the odds for that might be. So my official pick is going to be Ottman Azaitar via first round knockout in that spot there. So just going to get into the chat there, guys, just to see there. Just my man Michael, it's in there. Odds are off. I think it's a pick 'em. Don't do it well. I've already did it. So, yeah. What do you? Oh, is this for the Azaitar fight? I mean, Ottman all day. All right, okay. So it's the Tsarukyan one. Oh, we'll see about that. We'll see about that. Moving on, we've got Jessica Eye against Joanne Calderwood. Tough fight for me to call because Joanne Calderwood is just one of the girls that I love watching fight, obviously from Scotland. I've always supported Joanne, will always support her in her UFC run. But, I mean, that was a big opportunity she lost against Jennifer Maia last time out. I mean, she probably had the title shot ready and waiting there, and I still think she can get to it in that division that she's in if she has a couple of dominant performances, good performances. But that was a big, and I remember betting on that spot, thinking if she could just initially stay in that fight, then I think she could win out a decision. And went in there and got submitted and took the fight to the ground. And yeah, that didn't turn out to be too great. And she's facing Jessica Eye here, who's, I think this could be a fight where if it stays on the feet, I think it could be really, really fun. I think that I'd give Jojo the overall better striking overall. I think she uses kicks better, but I'm not too high in Joanne's kind of maybe fight IQ in that spot there. I mean, Jessica's just tried to use takedown in the past against Freya, went down in there. I think it's something she might try and do here because I do think Jojo can be taken down. But on the feet, I think this could be stylistically a very good fight. I'm kind of more on the Joanne Calderwood fight, and maybe that's a little bit biased on my side as well because I really, 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 really want her to win. But I think if this stays a predominantly striking affair, I think if it stays there, I think Ai's got really good boxing. I think she's got overall decent striking. I think more overall as a striker, I think that Jojo has a little bit more there. She uses kicks better. She uses knees. She's got that dirty Muay Thai. If I'm Joanne Calderwood, I just try and fight to your strength, which is your striking. And if you lose, you lose. But don't decide to take the fight to the ground and then be in spots where you're losing parts of the round there. I mean, she did that. She gets taken down a lot of her fights. I mean, she can get takedowns as well. It's something that has really kind of flourished in her game recently, is takedown. She did it against Lipsky. She did it against Chukagian. I thought she was a little bit unlucky in that fight. She did it in the Lee fight, where I think that's not a bad kind of fight to maybe if she can replicate that, get some takedowns, but also have a lot of output in the feet. I think she can beat Jessica Eye. So I'm going to go Jojo Calderwood, but I'm not confident, honestly, guys. I think that it could potentially be a very, very close fight, but I'm picking Jojo in that spot. The co-main event of the night, Dan Hooker against the debuting former Bellator champion, Bellator standout, and Michael Chandler is making his UFC debut. So I'm really interested to see Mike Chandler in the UFC. Obviously, he's a guy that's well known from over in the Bellator promotion, but he's made his way over. Is it maybe a little bit too late? I mean, 34 years old. I've seen some people really talk down on Michael Chandler, and I think he's a very exciting fighter, but I do think he comes with a couple of asterisks in there. I think that he's taken some bad losses in his time, been knocked out badly in a couple of those fights. I mean, the Will Brooks one back in the day, Brett Primus knockout was nasty. Patricio Pitbull knocked him out nasty. So I am a little bit worried about his chin because Dan Hooker has shown that he's got a lot of really great skills on the feet. The guy's got a heart of an absolute Maori warrior. We've seen that in the Dustin Poirier fight where he just took some massive licks in that fight. And we've seen that in the past as well with Edson Barbosa. But I'm interested in Michael Chandler here. I think he can wrestle because that is predominantly his game there. If he decides to wrestle here, which I think he's going to do, I don't think he should really want to stand and really bang it out with someone like Dan Hooker, because I think if he does that, I think he could potentially end up eating a knee up the middle. He could end up taking an elbow. I think he could be in a lot of trouble. If I'm him, I look to try and push him back and clinch up and get this fight to the ground, because wrestling is his bread and butter, and I think that he really should use it. And I've kind of got drawn into betting Michael Chandler, and I did over the weekend, right before the fight started. I bet him at plus 120. The line's actually come down to plus 100 now, where I think you can still get like a plus 110 here in the UK, but I saw that plus 120 after I watched some fights, and I was like, I'm going to take a shot on Michael Chandler on his UFC debut. Plus, this whole dynamic of these last two fights got changed last week with the whole Khabib news, where Khabib maybe will fight one of these guys if they're impressive. And that's a big chip on Michael Chandler's shoulder. If he can come in here, especially if he can put away someone like Hooker, which I don't think he will, my official pick is going to be Michael Chandler via decision. I think he uses his wrestling here and ties up and gets at least a couple of rounds out there. But I am a little bit worried, I'll be honest with you, with Dan Hooker's overall striking. I think that he could potentially, he could definitely, I think a knockout is live for Dan Hooker, but I kind of got baited into the plus 120. I think that I think he wins this fight via decision and via wrestling. That's my jump on the fight there, and I put some money on him, so hopefully he can come through there. And the main event of the night, we have the rematch. This is a rematch I didn't think we'd ever see again. Dustin the Diamond Poirier against the notorious Conor McGregor. I am hyped for this fight. Anytime Conor McGregor's fighting, I am there. Anytime Dustin Poirier's fighting, I am there. I am watching. And it's just like an interesting dynamic, because obviously you can't really take too much away from the first fight for the simple reason that McGregor knocked him out in, 90 seconds-ish? Caught him with a shot right kind of around the ear there, and I remember everybody was thinking that that's going to be the end of the hype train with Conor McGregor. In that fight, all the Americans seem to be on Poirier's side. They thought this was going to be like the hype job was going to be over. To me, that was the beginning of Conor McGregor in the UFC. Took out a big name, a notable name in Dustin Poirier, and they just went on and on and on and just went to heights unimaginable in MMA. So, but what I love about Dustin Poirier is that he takes those losses, evaluates what's going on. Featherweight wasn't the place to be, moved up to lightweight, been on a tear, got some championship gold, beat some great fighters, been in some unbelievable scraps, beat some of the top guys in that division. I mean, your Justin Gaethje's, your Pettis at the time, Eddie Alvarez, then coming back like Dan Hooker, had some surgeries there, and then came back against Dan Hooker and gave us, I probably think, the fight of the year, in my opinion, up there with Zhang and Joanne. But it's like, where does Poirier win this fight? I think he has to get through the first 10 minutes and not absorb big blows. I think if he can get to round 3, then I think all bets are off. I think that then if he, with the output and the heart that guy's got, he could come in there and win that fight from there. But honestly, I am really struggling seeing past Conor McGregor here. Because I think the power, he looks in unbelievable shape as well. He's been talking about how he's really going to fit into 155 now. I still think he's talking a hell of a lot of shit, talking about Khabib, and it's like Khabib's running away and doing this and doing that. I'm like, come on, Conor. I think he would give him a great fight in the rematch, but I don't know whether much would change. I mean, I've got the big guy in the background there, so it's like, yeah. I'm a big fan of both guys, but I struggle to see Poirier eating any type of hard shot. I mean, he's did it in the past. I mean, he's hit shots off Alvarez, shots off Gaethje. He's taken a lot of deep shots and like damaging shots and still come through there. But like I say, Poirier, that betting line, like I want absolutely no part of the betting line here, because Conor McGregor's minus 300. I don't like that. Like, I think that's high, but it's warranted because of what he did in the past and what he can do here, and he could finish this inside the first 60 seconds, which he's talking about. But for me, I'm going to pick Conor McGregor. I think that it's hard to see past him not landing a killer blow in the first 10 minutes. Like I say, if it goes late, then I think you have to favour on the side of Dustin Poirier, and with his cardio, with his heart, with his durability, with like that war mentality. But I think at any point that Conor, if he was to catch him with the right shot, could potentially put him out. Like I say, that plus number in Poirier is always, if you can get plus money in Dustin Poirier in some of these spots, man, it's an awesome bet to put on. But I still think Conor's one of the elite guys technically in the division. I think skill for skill, I think he's got a lot of, I think his grappling's actually a little bit underrated. I think he's shown that in some spots, but I think Conor catches him. I really do. I don't want to say I'd be surprised if Poirier won, because Poirier's a former interim champion. Give him the respect he deserves, and he's put some great performances on there. But I just don't see him absorbing this big killer shot from Conor McGregor. So my pick's going to be, I'm going to go a first round knockout for Conor McGregor, which is pretty predictable, honestly, but I think it's the most likely thing that could happen because Conor has got the power to do that, and I think he could do that with anybody if he catches them with the right shot. So Conor McGregor is going to be my pick there. So guys, that's my picks for UFC 257. Appreciate all the support as always. Please subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment with your picks, predictions, bets. I want to know what you're betting on this card here. I'm going to jump into the chat just in a wee bit there just to see some of the guys that have missed out. Chris Grieve, hope you're well, Chris. Felt bad for Joanne. I believe she had fainted backstage after the fight. Ginge, how are you? I'm very well, Ginge. How are you? Hope you're well. Aaron Milner, you're the man. Well, I appreciate that, brother. Poirier is plus 215. I mean, great odds. If you've got some spare change, you just want to throw in that fight, then go for it. Michael is saying, Conor, Ottman, Arman, Mahmoud, Amir is my parlay. That'll be a half-decent payout there. What have we got? I don't think Poirier has fantastic cardio. You don't think... I think he does. I just think that I think he can go really hard for through a 25-minute fight, but he really pushes himself. But like I say, I don't think that's really going to matter here. Tiger Bomb, MMA, hope you're well. Conor is hard to bet against. If he comes prepared, he should get the KO. I think he's very prepared. He sounds to be supremely ready for this fight, in my opinion. Conor and Khabib 2 would be a different fight. Poirier's a dead man walking. His style suits Conor. I agree. It just seemed like Conor was way fresher in rounds 3 and 4 than Poirier was 2 and 3 against Khabib. Well, Khabib's got that style that can just run through you and deplete you in so many spots. Great picks, Will. From Michael Ross. Well, hope so. Do you want to go on Twitch? I'm good right now, brother. I'm going to go have some dinner and see the family before my kid goes to bed. Just thought I'd say hello to you guys there. You can follow me on Twitter, Will Martin MMA. You can follow my bets at Bet MMA Tips. 5-unit max bet on Arman Tsarukyan. 2 units on Michael Chandler is what I have so far for this card. Guys, I appreciate you for sticking through me through that. Until the next card, which is February, I believe. Take care. Enjoy this pay-per-view this weekend. All the very, very best. And I will speak to you very, very soon. All the best.